Ever since his introduction, Knuckles the Echidna took the Sonic fanbase by storm, quickly catching up to, if not exceeding Sonic himself in popularity. In his first appearance, Knuckles was a villain. In his second, he was a secondary protagonist, equal to Sonic. The way things are looking, it was only natural for Knuckles to get his own starring role. And, in April 1995, barely a year after the release of Sonic 3, he got just that with Knuckles Chaotix. Now, one important thing to note here is that this game has significantly different stories between the English and Japanese releases. So, if you're American or European and you played the game as a kid or you read the Archie comic adaptation, the story you know does not resemble the story of the Japanese game whatsoever. And, as usual, we will be telling the story of the Japanese game, as that's the language that was spoken by the developers. That said, I have already covered the previously mentioned Archie story. You can find that video in the iCards. According to the game's manual, the story opens up a couple of months after the events of Sonic 3, where Sonic returned the Master Emerald to Angel Island. If you remember, in that game, Robotnik stole the Master Emerald and plunged the floating island into the ocean. When the Master Emerald returned to the shrine, the island rose back into the sky, but it wasn't the only thing that rose after that. As a result of this event, another island surfaced from deep beneath the waves. Isolated Island, the island of Miraculous. This was a place where chaos energy was strong, allowing the island to change in appearance constantly. Due to the island's strangeness and history, several people were drawn to explore it. For example, Vector the Crocodile. He came to the island of Miracles because he believed that its existence was an act of God. Yes, really. He was initially designed to be a supporting character as far back as Sonic 1, as a member of Sonic's band. But this game is the first time that he actually appeared. However, it's unclear whether or not he has any history with Sonic at this point in continuity. Charmy Bee, the world's fastest bee, came to the island in search of new and exotic flowers. Espio the Chameleon, on the other hand, was interested in the history of Angel Island and was hoping to use the isolated island to learn more about it. Interestingly, the manual seems to imply that he has a one-sided rivalry with Knuckles, jealous of the Echidna's innate connection to the floating island. While all three of these characters are new to this game, I'm sure many of you will recognize them as members of Team Chaotix, or the Chaotix Detective Agency, which is how they were reintroduced to the series in Sonic Heroes. But not all the characters in this game are new. Next, we have Mighty the Armadillo, returning from Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. That said, Ray is still kinda lost. Mighty didn't come to the island with a specific purpose in mind. Much like his friend Sonic, he's a world traveler, a drifter, and just so happened to wind up in the right place at the wrong time. The final character that was interested in the island was one we should all be very familiar with at this point. Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik, the mastermind behind the Angel Island incident, and a constant pain in Knuckles behind. Much like Espio, Robotnik had noticed the connection between the isolated island and Angel Island, and came hoping to find another way of accessing the incredible power of the Master Emerald. Interestingly, the manual does mention that at one point the Master Emerald was hosted on this island, so Robotnik searching here wasn't actually too far out of the way. However, by this point, the Master Emerald had been moved to the floating island by the gods, which actually I really need to do a video about the Master Emerald and its history, because especially after Frontiers, there's really a lot to talk about. So maybe keep an eye out for that in the future. The manual also makes it clear that this island was once the home to an ancient civilization that has now disappeared. I find it likely that this group was part of the Echidna civilization, as the game hammers the point home over and over again that this island is closely linked to Angel Island. While the Doctor doesn't find the Master Emerald, he does find something far more interesting, a crystallized chaos energy in the form of rings, called Chaos Rings. These powerful rings serve as a potent source of energy. After some study, Robotnik managed to create his own artificial Chaos Rings, called Dark Rings, which he used to fuel all of his robots in this game, instead of animals like he usually does. This includes his most powerful, Metal Sonic. It seems that, after the Little Planet incident, Robotnik had managed to retrieve the destroyed robot's CPU and install them in a new body. Using the power of the Dark Rings, Robotnik reawakened the Sonic robot. It's worth noting that, despite the name Metal Sonic Kai often being used to refer to the final boss of this game, it's actually used in the manual to refer to just Metal Sonic in general. Kai is a Japanese word that means change, so really he's just Metal Sonic changed. He also began work on a large Dark Ring, which he would likely use to power far more powerful robots. The existence of the Chaos and Dark Rings suggests a possible origin for rings as physical manifestations of Chaos energy, though clearly regular rings hold far less energy than the Dark or Chaos rings. This is a hypothesis that I also discussed in my videos on the RG Sonic comics, and is the most likely explanation for what rings actually are, at least in my opinion. Seeing these rings as the future of his empire, Robotnik constructed his own base of operations on the island, called the Neutrogic High Zone, and imprisoned anyone else who tried to uncover its secrets, including the 4 Chaotix members we discussed earlier, now imprisoned as statues within a machine known as the Combi Catcher. There were also 2 more robots included in the Catcher that we haven't discussed yet, Heavy and Bomb. Both androids are Robotnik's creation. Some adaptations, including the English instruction manual, portray them as turncoat robots. However, nothing implies this is the case in the Japanese version of the game. If I had to guess what they're doing here, I'd say that they're dead weight placed within the Combi Catcher to keep anyone trying to free his prisoners from having too much power. For one, they are the only characters that you can't select as the player character, nor can they be found in item boxes. Second, there are way more of them within the Combi Catcher than any other character, implying that Robotnik wants them to be caught, and also showing that neither is their own individual character. And third, they are both completely useless in-game. They are utterly horrendous, and you really do not want to be using them. I doubt that they had any real intentions of helping the Chaotix, if they even had intentions of their own in the first place. Finally, Knuckles' curiosity got the best of him, and he decided to explore the island as well. Upon arriving, he found SBO locked up in the Combi Catcher and freed him. The two were then sealed together using modified Chaos Rings and forced to travel the island side by side. Upon arriving at the world entrance, Knuckles finds the rest of the playable characters in the Combi Catcher, and together, they travel through the island, thwarting Robotnik's plans in the process. Alongside Isolated Island, which is the prologue level, and the world entrance, there are 5 more levels in this game. They are called attractions, likely because Robotnik's ultimate goal is just to build a really cool amusement park. Amazing Arena is a labyrinthian structure that needs to be powered on by our heroes every time they arrive. Botanic Base is a large greenhouse, home to a veritable forest. Marina Madness is a home base for Robotnik's aerial fleet. Speed Slider is a really big, really cool roller coaster, with other amusement rides seen in the background. And the largest attraction is Techno Tower, an imposing structure that serves as a symbol for the Neutrogic High Zone. The manual mentions that light energy is collected here. Since it's in Japanese, I'm not sure whether this is supposed to describe chaos energy or simply solar power. Throughout these attractions, the Chaotix find their way into the Special Zone, where they can collect their own Chaos Rings. 6 of them to be exact. After traveling through all 5 attractions completely, Metal Sonic arrives at the world entrance to stop the interlopers. After that failed to stop them, Robotnik finally unleashed his giant Dark Ring, using its power to transform the Sonic robot into a gigantic kaiju. However, even this form is defeated, and the Chaotix use their Chaos Rings to bring an end to Robotnik's stay on the island. Sonic and Tails do show up at the end, but they do absolutely nothing. They're just stealing Knuckles' valor. I don't even know why they're here. We don't know exactly what happens with any of these guys after this game. Mighty would disappear from the series for decades, with no clear sign of him until Sonic Mania. Likely he simply returned to his roving ways, living his best life on his own. As we know, Vector, SBO, and Charmy would go on to become the Chaotix Detective Agency, likely stemming from SBO's existing private investigator business. SBO would also return for Sonic the Fighters, which we'll cover sometime soon. As for Knuckles, as always, he returned to Angel Island, once again satisfied that his island, and the Master Emerald, were safe. And now for the fun part of the video, the timeline. Obviously we know that the game takes place after Sonic 3, as that's a significant part of the game's backstory. However, given that Knuckles immediately shows hostility to Robotnik, and even appears to be friendly with Sonic at the end, it is also likely to take place after Triple Trouble. But probably not too soon after, given that it's only been a few months since the events of Sonic 3. So I'm placing this game right after Triple Trouble, before the ever-perilous Sonic Spinball. And that's it for this video. Now Knuckles isn't the only Sonic side character to get his own spin-off game in this era. And because of that, next time we're going to discuss another one, Tails Sky Patrol. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.